Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Tom Worth Jr. Today I wanted to talk about authoritarianism and extrajudicial killings and Trump's embrace of them with drug boats. Alleged narco-terrorists, as Pete Hegseth is so fond of referring to these drug boats, which are not a new thing. We've had drug boats, we've had cartels trying to bring drugs into the United States. The Navy, the Coast Guard has intercepted these boats. They take people into custody. They seize the cargoes. They have trials. That's the American way, right? Well, not according to Trump and Hegseth. We've gone a new route, but this is on a continuum. I don't know if you all saw the New York Times 12 steps to authoritarianism. I just saw it today. It might be new for today. The good news is we aren't Russia or China yet. So, yay, not Russia or China yet. But it's got each one, and then it ranks it kind of a scale, and we're not really at all, or we're pretty far down the path. And for the most part, we're not too far down the path on most of these measures yet, which shows you that the New York Times is actually being objective about this, which I find that they typically are. But the steps are: an authoritarian stifles dissent in speech, persecutes political opponents, bypasses the legislature. Now, as I'm reading these, you'll be going, well, yes, of course, he's doing all of those things. And yes, he is doing all of these things. The question is, to what extent? To a greater extent than any other president ever has? In many cases, yes. But on the scale of America on one end and Russia and China on the other, we're not there yet. So, authoritarian uses the military for domestic control, defies the courts, declares national emergencies on false pretenses. He's about halfway on that scale. An authoritarian vilifies marginalized groups. He's definitely done that more than halfway on the scale. Controls information and the news media. Like he can't do that yet. He's trying to do that. It's not saying he's not attempting and doing everything he can to do these things. It's just saying he hasn't been able to yet. So he's not very far along there. An authoritarian tries to take over universities. Absolutely with him. Creates a cult of personality. That's, I think, the biggest thing he's accomplished so far. That, and uses power for personal profit. The 12th one is manipulates the law to stay in power. With using the power of the presidency for personal profit. I read yesterday that he and his family have added $864 million by the latest estimate to their net worth. Like through Trump media, through the first 6 months of this year. For context, last year it brought in like 50 million. So through the first 6 months of his presidency, 864 million. It's not even scratching the surface of what he's doing. This is just what they could verify. But I'm getting off track here. With these drug boats, these are allegedly from the cartels, right? And they happened at first in the Caribbean off the coast of Venezuela, so off of South America on the east side, and then this week off of South America on the west side. They're just vaguely terming it the Eastern Pacific, but it's suspected to be off of Colombia. So you've got South America, and you've got the United States military destroying boats and murdering people on the boats with no due process, just at will. The United Nations has condemned this strongly throughout, in particular this week. 61 have been killed so far since they started publicizing it back in September. The deadliest day was 14 people murdered on one single day. So, can you do this? Is this legal? Is this allowed? It is not. They're doing it anyway. So typically, if you try to smuggle drugs into the United States, there are pretty stiff penalties, especially if you're doing it at a large scale. And the penalties are up to millions of dollars, sometimes tens of millions of dollars in fines, and have minimum prison sentences of 10 or 20 years, depending on how much you're smuggling in, with up to life imprisonment. Not a capital crime. There is no death penalty in the United States for smuggling drugs into the United States. It's not a capital crime. Trump loves the death penalty. Thinks people should get the death penalty. One of the things in his negotiation with Xi the other night was that he was upset about Xi because she promised to impose the death penalty on people enabling the components of fentanyl to get to the United States. And they weren't carrying out enough death penalties in Trump's opinion. That's something they needed to do better on, is more death penalties. Over in China, Trump thinks drugs should carry death penalties. They do not in the United States of America. He is not the one who makes the laws. He's not the one who comes up with the punishments. So what you have these drug boats who are used to a big Navy ship, U.S. Navy ship coming onto them, or a Coast Guard ship, and they got to put their hands up, I guess. You'd have these gunboats trained on them, and they've got to surrender, and they've got to be taken aboard the ships, and they've got to face prosecution and punishment. And that's not happening now. Now what happens is the United States calls in attack helicopters or Reaper drones and launch Hellfire missiles at these boats with all of the people still on them, and just blow them up and kill them. Are the people putting their hands up? Are there some survivors who jumped into the ocean and we are commanded to just watch them drown? I don't know. It would appear so. We don't know because no evidence has been submitted as to what's happening, what the process is. There's no oversight on this. It is purely Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth, judge, jury, and executioners throughout. Again, these are crimes that do not carry the death penalty in the United States of America. And Trump, the authoritarian, has decided that it merits the death penalty. How can he get away with this? Well, in broad terms, the same way he's gotten away with everything. He just does it. It doesn't matter that it's illegal. It doesn't matter what the repercussions should be. There are no repercussions from his own Congress, from the Supreme Court, from his departments, the Defense Department, which is the Department of Justice. There are no repercussions. There are no international repercussions. The United Nations can yell all they want about this. There's nothing they can do, obviously. So how does Trump try to justify this? Well, he's instructed Hegseth to use the term narco-terrorists, claiming that these drug boats are terrorists and they are therefore subject to military rules of engagement. They can be killed on site, no judicial process. That's what I call extrajudicial murders. And if that's not the mark of an authoritarian, I don't know what is. When you see headlines about extrajudicial killings just throughout, go back however many decades, it's never in relation to the United States. It is these horrible regimes in other countries that are trying to control and suppress their adversaries. And it's simply murdering people outside of the due process that they deserve. And it's not something that the United States does, and except for when we're at war. Yes, we might kill 100,000 Iraqis or hundreds of thousands of Iraqis, but we're at war in that situation, right? Whether you think we should be or not, we are at war. They have tanks, they have jets and missiles, and so do we, and we're at war. Um, a a boat carrying drugs in the ocean towards the United States, it's not at war. That's not in any stretch of the imagination something that warrants extrajudicial killings. But that's what this administration is doing. Why is this so worrying? Because who's on these boats? Do you know? Do I know? Nobody knows who's on these boats. It could be anyone. What's to say that it's Trump gets word that somebody's on a boat in the Pacific somewhere or in the Caribbean somewhere, and we order a strike on it. And now we keep using this word normalized. Now you've normalized the United States military launching Hellfire missiles at boats and killing everyone on board with no evidence that any wrong was being done. Now, you don't even know who's on the boat. Would you want to be an enemy of Trump in that world? I would not. I wouldn't get on a boat in that world. It's just crazy that this is going on right now, and it is. And they proudly proclaim it. Pete Hegseth gets on the news and has press conferences, says, we did this, we killed these people, and we didn't have to ask any permission, and we just did it because we wanted to do it. It's just a frightening turn of events, and it really just came to light in September. So we're 2 months into this now. 61 have already been murdered, and 14 in one day. Kind of crazy. Also going on right now is a bunch of people may soon find themselves starving as SNAP benefits run out. Trump has blocked the emergency use of funds to keep these benefits rolling and keep people fed, keep people from starving. He's blocked that while he's raised over $100 million privately to pay military members. We obviously need to pay both. We need to pay for our military, and we need to pay to keep food in the mouths of starving people who can't afford food. And the thing is, there are emergency funds available for that, and Trump won't allow the use of it. You would say, well, what's Trump? Trump can't decide this. Well, he can't, but he orders Congress not to approve the use of it. So, yeah, he can. He's also ordering the Republicans to repeal the filibuster, which neither side has wanted to do, no matter how angry each side has been at each other over the past few decades. Neither side will roll that grenade into the room, and because that's the kind of the end of everything once you do that. So even this Republican Senate has been loath to do that to this point. That's what Trump was yelling at him to do last night after he got home from Asia. Because again, every time he orders one of these things, he knows it's a step, and it's a step, and it's a step, and a step. And at some point, you've taken too many steps, you've gone too far, no one can rein you back in. So if he can get the Senate Republicans to roll back the filibuster and just ramrod their budget through and end the shutdown, right? It's all about ending the shutdown. No, it's not. It's about getting the Republican Senate to take a step too far to just go and do what they don't want to do. I don't know what's worse in any of this: making people starve to death, murdering people with no process, telling the Senate to throw our democracy away. I don't know. It's all bad. Happy Halloween to everyone. I guess the trick is on all of us this year, and that's why I'm wearing my black t-shirt today. Hope everyone has a great night, and we'll talk later.